Dade, the fridge is talking to me again. Let me explain something right away. I love my family. I really do. But when your 8-year-old son bursts into your bedroom on a quiet Saturday morning, screaming about a talking refrigerator, you start questioning every life choice that led to this exact moment. I sat up in bed, disoriented, heart pounding, blinking like a stunned owl. My wife, Emma, groaned beside me and pulled the blanket over her head. She had survived late-night laundry, back-to-back episodes of a true crime docuseries, and Lily's 2 a.m. emergency about a ladybug in her room. But Max and his fridge drama? That was apparently where she drew the line. Max stood at the doorway, breathless and wild-eyed. It said, "You forgot the milk again." I heard it, I swear. I gave him the classic dad look, one raised eyebrow, and a generous dose of caffeine-deprived skepticism. Are you sure it wasn't your stomach talking? You skipped dinner last night after licking ketchup off the remote, remember? No, Dad. It spoke. Like a voice. In the fridge. Naturally, I followed him to the kitchen, because parenting means responding to emergencies, real or imagined, before they spiral into something that gets posted online. Max led the charge, tiptoeing like a spy approaching enemy territory. Emma trailed us, mug of coffee clutched like a lifeline, and Lily sleepily wandered in behind her holding a stuffed panda named Kevin. We gathered around the fridge like worshippers at a bizarre shrine. For a moment, nothing happened. The house was quiet, save for the ticking of the wall clock and Kevin the panda slipping from Lily's grasp with a soft thud. Then, just as I was about to declare the fridge innocent, a robotic voice echoed from inside. "Low battery. Please recharge soon." Emma shrieked. Lily gasped. Max's jaw dropped so hard I thought it might hit the tile. "See?" he shouted, practically vibrating with triumph. Now I'm not proud of this, but for a hot second, even I considered the possibility that our refrigerator had achieved sentience and was about to lead the uprising against humans. But then I spotted something wedged behind the pickle jar. I reached in and pulled out a tiny black Bluetooth speaker. It was crusted with a smear of ranch dressing and still blinking like a sci-fi prop gone rogue. Then I remembered Uncle Ron. At Max's birthday party last week, he'd DJ'd using his phone and a portable speaker, the same speaker now humming softly next to the butter. I wiped it off with a napkin and shook my head. Well, mystery solved. The fridge isn't haunted. It's just been playing messages from someone's phone. Emma squinted at it. You don't think it's your dad's speaker, do you? The room fell quiet again. Of course it was. Grandpa Ed was notorious for accidentally connecting his phone to random Bluetooth devices. He once paired with our neighbor's baby monitor and asked Siri to play polka. The neighbor still avoids eye contact with us. Emma tapped her phone. Sure enough, a voice recording popped up on the speaker. World War II, Chapter 3. The Battle of the Bulge begins. Yup. That was Grandpa's audiobook. Playing in our fridge. Because of course it was. Max was stunned silent. Then he whispered, "The fridge knows history?" We all burst out laughing. Lily, inspired, drew eyes on a sticky note and plastered them onto the freezer door. The fridge now had a face. Max declared it a food guardian and gave it a high five before grabbing his cereal. I thought that would be the end of it. A funny story to tell at Thanksgiving. But as the day wore on, Max kept talking to the fridge like it was his wise old mentor. Hey fridge, should I eat one Pop-Tart or two? Fridge, do carrots make you taller? At one point I walked in and caught him whispering, "Blink twice if you're secretly a robot." I should have let it go. Should have left well enough alone. But I'm a dad. And if there's one thing dads do best, it's revenge by prank. What started as a joke about a talking fridge was about to spiral into a full-blown paranormal crisis, complete with Alexa, a possessed vacuum, crayon sigils, and a priest with a rosary in our living room. All because I thought I was being clever. Spoiler alert, I was wrong. If you're wondering how we went from a rogue Bluetooth speaker to my mother screaming, "We need holy water," in the living room, just know this, it was entirely my fault. See, Max was so convinced the fridge was secretly alive, I figured it was time to mess with him a little. Harmlessly, of course. Just a light dad prank to teach him a lesson about believing everything he hears from mayonnaise-scented electronics. I pulled out my phone, opened our smart home apps, and got to work. The plan? Make the entire house feel just a little too aware. The next morning at 7:12 a.m., just as Max poured his cereal, Alexa lit up on her own and said, "Good morning, Max. You forgot to rinse your spoon." Max jumped like the floor had bitten him. Emma dropped her toast. I pretended to sip coffee and murmured, That's odd. At 7:25, the hallway lights began flickering. Then the vacuum cleaner spun into action, rolled up next to Max, and announced, "Alert! Max's room is 93% untidy." Lily screamed, "It's happening!" She ran upstairs and returned with a crayon, drawing protection symbols she'd seen in a Scooby-Doo episode. She stuck them on the doors, the TV, and my coffee mug. Then Grandma arrived. She walked in holding a bundt cake and saw a glowing Alexa, a possessed Roomba, and Lily standing on a chair yelling, "The spirits are in the toaster." Grandma froze. "Jake," she said in a tone normally reserved for ambulance drivers and tax attorneys, "what have you let into this house?" Before I could answer, Alexa chimed in again. Spiritual defenses activated. I have never seen my mother move so fast. She dropped the cake, clutched her pearls, and whispered, "I knew this would happen. This is because you skipped church last Sunday." 15 minutes later, Father Thomas, our next-door neighbor and local priest, was standing in our living room holding a Bible while the vacuum circled his feet like a low-budget exorcism. He asked politely if I'd like a blessing. I didn't have the heart to tell him the only thing possessed in our house was a Wi-Fi-enabled speaker and my own ego. Emma pulled me aside and whispered, "You're ending this. Now. Or I swear I will sell every smart device in this house and make you parent like it's 1987. I caved. I confessed everything to Max, to Emma, even to Lily, who was visibly disappointed that the toaster wasn't a portal. Grandma wasn't amused. She made me promise to attend Sunday service for the next 4 weeks. Father Thomas gave Alexa a suspicious side eye as he left. But later that evening, as the house calmed down, Emma and I sat on the couch, both exhausted and amused. Max flopped next to me and said, "You know, Dad, if the house ever does become haunted, I want to be on your team." I laughed. "You got it, buddy. The house may not have been haunted, but the memories we made that day, definitely supernatural." Little did I know, the biggest disaster was still on the menu. Literally. I'll be honest, I had something to prove. After the smart home prank spiraled into a full-blown spiritual intervention, and after Emma instituted a 72-hour, no Alexa mandate, I figured it was time to restore balance in the household. Something wholesome, something peaceful, something delicious. So I told Emma, "Don't worry about dinner tonight. I got this." She blinked. "Like cooking? Real food?" I placed a confident hand over my heart. 3-course meal. Italian night. Redemption arc. She nodded slowly, like she was trying to encourage a wounded soldier who had no business returning to battle. "Okay, but maybe keep the fire extinguisher nearby." Undeterred, I dove into planning. The menu? Garlic knots, baked ziti, and a surprise dessert. I found a recipe on TikTok from a guy who called himself Pasta Daddy 96, and despite the backwards hat and overuse of the word fam, he seemed trustworthy. First snag, yeast. We were out, but I found a container of baking soda in the pantry and figured, same general science, right? Spoiler, not remotely. While the dough was doing whatever chemically confused dough does, I started the sauce. I chopped onions like a man in a cooking montage, shed exactly 4 tears, and tossed in minced garlic with a flick of flair. I even added a pinch of red pepper flakes for elevated flavor, which is something I'd heard on a cooking show once. Emma peeked in at one point. "Are you singing to the pasta?" "No, elite." By the time I slid the ziti into the oven, the garlic knots had taken on a life of their own. They'd puffed up to the size of grapefruit and were slowly oozing over the edges of the tray like dough-based lava. "Maybe they'll deflate when they cool," I mumbled. They did not. Then came the dessert. I had bought a frozen tiramisu from the store as a backup. But Max saw it and yelled, "That's cheating." So, out of pride and poor judgment, I tried to make a chocolate mousse using cocoa powder, whipped cream, and a suspicious packet I found labeled instant gelatin, Best Buy. As all this was unfolding, our Roomba, still traumatized from its holy encounter, decided to clean the floor right under my feet. I tripped, caught myself, and then watched in horror as my arm knocked a full bowl of tomato soup off the counter. It launched into the air like a slow-motion Olympic discus and landed, with impossible accuracy, on Grandma Judy's lap. She had just walked in, wearing a light beige pantsuit and holding a Tupperware of homemade coleslaw. The soup splattered across her like she was an extra in a horror movie titled Attack of the Marinara. She blinked, reached for a napkin, and calmly said, "I told your mother you'd never learn to cook." Max and Lily were in tears from laughing. Emma just whispered, "This is why we can't have nice things." But the final blow. Oh, it was poetic. As I tried to serve what remained of the dinner, burned ziti, puffed up dough rocks, and mousse that looked like it had survived an earthquake, Max connected the Bluetooth speaker and accidentally played a recording I'd forgotten about. It was me, alone in the garage, practicing for Lily's birthday. Let it go. Let it go. Oh no, that note sucked. Try again, let it go. The room exploded. Lily rolled off the couch, laughing so hard she hiccuped. Max wheezed, Dad's Elsa now. Grandma just shook her head and muttered something about needing prayer circles. Emma clutched her chest and between fits of laughter said, You are never, ever, allowed, near the oven again. But you know what? As we scraped melted cheese off the walls and wiped tears of laughter from our faces, I realized something. This dinner may have been an epic failure, but it was one of the best nights we'd had in months. And it wasn't over yet. By 8 p.m., all hope for a formal dinner had disintegrated like my mousse in the microwave. Emma picked up the phone, looked at me, and said gently, Honey, you tried. You really did. Translation, pizza was coming. While we waited, I stripped off the apron, which had a suspicious burn hole, and collapsed onto the couch. Lily curled up beside me, her stuffed panda Kevin tucked under her arm. Max was at the kitchen table, drawing what he claimed was blueprints for a non-chaotic dinner experience, which featured a bubble-wrap floor, robot servers, and a karaoke band. Grandma had forgiven me, mostly because Emma offered her an entire bottle of sparkling cider. She'd changed into one of Emma's oversized hoodies, and was now comfortably knitting while murmuring old church hymns under her breath. The doorbell rang, and for once, salvation came in the form of 2 steaming boxes and a side of garlic knots that didn't resemble beach balls. We sat on the living room floor, plates on laps, crumbs everywhere. No rules. No napkins. Just the kind of messy, beautiful chaos that you can only call home. Emma leaned against me, half asleep with a smile on her face. Remember when we thought we were going to have a fancy dinner tonight? Technically, I said between bites, we did. Fancy for a sitcom, maybe. Lily blinked up at me. Daddy. Yes, sweetie? I like when the house is weird. I paused. Weird how? Like today. The singing fridge. The flying soup. When we laugh so much it hurts. My heart swelled in a way no perfect meal could have matched. Max piped up, without looking from his drawing. Our family is like a video game with all the glitches, but the fun kind. Emma giggled. We are glitchy, aren't we? I looked around at our makeshift feast, the crayon drawings still taped to the walls, the chaos of the day settling into the warmth of evening, and I knew this was one of those nights. The kind you remember when the house is quiet and the kids are grown. The kind you'll talk about years from now when someone says, Remember the fridge thing? The kind of night that doesn't look like much from the outside, but from the inside, it's everything. After bedtime, as I tucked Max in, he whispered, Dad, promise we'll always have weird dinners? I smiled, brushing hair off his forehead. Promise. As long as you promise to never give the fridge eyes again. No promises, he grinned. Downstairs, I stuck a new label on the fridge, Certified Fridge Whisperer. Emma saw it and rolled her eyes, but she was smiling. And just before bed, I looked around our messy, loud, beautiful home and thought, some families chase perfection. Ours chases flying soup, burnt ziti, and laughter that echoes through the halls. And honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way.